People quite often ask me what I like, what's the most fascinating thing about what I do. Meeting new people, new interesting people, that's my answer. I can't get enough of determination of some people and some of the guests, like my two guests today. They introduced me to something I haven't heard until I met them.
The ViaMia show is brought to you by the following people.
Charlie's Chocolate Factory is a family-owned business operating since 1970. Charlie's has molded chocolates for corporate events, weddings, and holidays. For information, call 604-437-8221. Good Cleaning Services has been serving Greater Vancouver since 2008. For more information, contact Ivanka at 778-321-0174. Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Melina Pham Makeup Artistry and Hairstyling. Makeup applications for film, airbrushing, glamour makeup, high fashion makeup, bridal makeup, and hairstyling. More details at melinaphamglobalartistry.com. Cuts and Colors in Uptown Westminster. We welcome our stylist George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private Investigations, Security and Alarm Systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121.
Instead of one guest, two today, well, they seem to me pretty inseparable. So I decided to keep them together. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I won't be able to describe the way they will. So first of all, Janine Reid and Arlene Lacroix, GOGO ladies. I'm done here. The explanation is up to you now.
So you were expecting GOGOs, were you?
Well, that's what you were saying. That's how you call yourself, GOGO
well,
ladies.
GOGO, the way we use it, refers to the Zulu name for grandmother. And we are Canadian grandmothers who fundraise on behalf of the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign of the Stephen Lewis Foundation.
And the Zulu is a native language to
South Africa.
South Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So GOGOs mean grandmothers in their language, and you are replacing somewhat the grandmothers for the children. They don't have parents and grandmothers in South Africa. You are
Yes, the AIDS pandemic has been raging in Africa for about 30 years, and almost 30 million people have died. And so this leaves a generation of orphans in the care of their grandmothers. So the grandmothers not only bury their own beloved children, they must pick up and begin to raise children again with very few resources.
This was an interesting story when you were telling me this, this formed, but now there are quite a few GOGOs groups in Canada, right?
We're nationwide.
Yeah.
In Canada, we cover all provinces. We belong to the New Westminster Royal City GOGOs, but it's across the entire nation.
Yeah. So I think that you mentioned there are like almost how many groups in
250, but they're not all called GOGO. The ones in the Lower Mainland often choose the name GOGO, but across Canada, we're just known as part of the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign of the Stephen Lewis Foundation.
And if we want to find a little more information, I mean, you have a website, royalcitygogos.org, that will be a place to visit whatever we won't be able to cover. I'm sure that people can find the answers, all answers there. I read your bulletin and I saw that except BC GOGOs, the group is expanding in different countries. Is it something that it started here in Canada?
It started in Canada with in 2006. The Stephen Lewis Foundation brought grandmothers from Africa together with grandmothers from Canada. And the grandmothers told their stories, and those women fanned out across Canada and started the Grandmothers Campaign. But now there are a limited number of groups in Britain, the United States, and Australia.
Wow, and there's tons of volunteers, of course.
About 10,000 across Canada.
10,000. How many years you two have been involved?
We started in 2006 in our group. Janine started it, actually. She belonged to another group, and she started the Royal City GOGOs. And I saw the announcement in the newspaper and thought I would just go and have a look and see what they had to offer. Well, 6 years later, and, nationwide, in the last 9 years, the Stephen Lewis, the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign has raised over $22 million.
22 million.
$22 million.
You're working really hard.
It seems like a lot of money, but and the funds go far in Africa, but it doesn't begin to address the need.
So let's let's get some explanation how it really works. Because you are not sending money there from your pockets, you are making things, you are selling things, and that all goes to the good cause. So. I know that you need to have some skills to what you brought today, for example. Let's take a look on these things. So this is all your work.
In our group in New Westminster, we were lucky enough to have some crafters, Arlene being an extraordinary crafter, and there are about 20 others of us. Now, you don't have to be a crafter to belong to the Grandmothers Campaign or even a grandmother. But we found in New Westminster the way that we can raise money is by crafting and selling some of the things that we make. And so that's what you see here, what we have on display.
Well, the head is
what
the
I'm
heads.
wearing.
Who makes the heads?
I do the hats.
You do all those heads. And I thought I saw that you hit one down.
Well,
there.
I did. Just to give you an idea, the hats, it's just a new thing I started this year, and they're so much fun to do. And they're all one of a kind. And what's unique about them is everything on here that you see of all my products. All the fabric has been donated. I don't have to go out and buy fabric. I don't have to buy anything. And I supply the thread. That's it.
So that's a huge team working.
It's amazing because people find out what we're doing, and people have their own stashes of things that they don't use anymore, and they say, can you use it? And we do. And we do. It's wonderful.
So you are into the hats. I can see even
and handbags. And handbags. And I also weave. And do a lot of different kinds of sewing, and we have home decorative items as well.
That purse is beautiful.
Thank you.
They're really beautiful.
And they're as beautiful inside and out.
Well, I can say it's a well-made product, and I know you make Janine. This is all your work. I was touching it before. It's just amazing.
This is called Nuno felting, and we start with a piece of silk. And lay wool roving on the top and the embellishments, and then with warm soapy water and agitation and some magic, the wool fuses to the silk to create a new fabric.
I like to know about that magic.
Yes. And then I make the felt balls as well in the similar process because we use the wool, and with warm soapy water and agitation, they form into the ball.
So now the most important part, all this stuff is going to end up on one of your fairs, which is coming up. It's around the corner. Again, if you would like to go back to that website, royalcitygogos.org, on November 6th and November 7th.
That's right.
You have something, if you can explain what's going on.
Well, because we have these crafters, as Janine says, we have such a great group, and we have created a stock this year that is outstanding, absolutely outstanding. We have quite a following of people that come to our fairs, and they do all their Christmas shopping, and because they're impressed with the quality and they're impressed with the prices, and they love the cause because every dollar that we make goes back to the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign to support these grandmothers in Africa.
Program. So there's a November 6th, November 7th, and where is it going to be?
It's at Unifor Hall,
okay,
326 12th Street in New Westminster.
In New Westminster. So for any details, again, we'll go back to that website, and all these things we can find there.
And more.
Yes.
And more.
And much
of course,
more.
This is just a sample, of
It's
course.
just a sample.
And we will go back to all these things. I'd like to talk more about your products and who can be involved and who can join you. I wanted to know what kind of feedback, as an impact you make on the people in South Africa with what you do.
Well, the Stephen Lewis Foundation supports more than 300 projects in sub-Saharan Africa in 15 countries. So not just South Africa, but 15 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And we are very gratified with what we hear back, because where the grandmothers started in abject despair and poverty, they are now turning their attention to raising up their communities and to advocating on their own behalf with their governments for changes in laws to help them to raise the children.
Have South African GOGOs ever been brought to Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
The foundation does that. They fly on aeroplan miles to keep the costs very low, and grandmothers come, and we get an opportunity to meet them.
That's really nice. And the question was asked only because I saw some pictures what you sent me, and maybe this will be the time to go through them. They were interesting to really look at. So this is the first one. And is this one of the visits of here?
No, that just shows a grandmother who may have health concerns of her own and caring for many children.
This particular picture is when the grandmothers came over in 2006. 100 of them came over, as Janine mentioned, on aeroplan points to Toronto, and 200 grandmothers, Canadian grandmothers, met with them. And these African grandmothers had an opportunity to talk about the tragedy in their lives, about losing their children, and in some cases being sick themselves. And they said they did not want to raise another generation that was going to go to the grave.
Oh, yeah.
So the Canadian grandmothers vowed that they would not rest until the African grandmothers can rest.
Wow.
So this shows some of our city
your
GOGOs at work doing some of the
So
crafts.
you usually meet together?
We meet once a month.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And our efforts are mirrored in Africa with grandmothers who, because of the funding, are able to do income-generating projects, to plant gardens to feed their children and also have some produce to sell. Do you know, Mia, there are 17 million children who have been orphaned, and 7 million of them live in what are called child-headed households, so that a child is raising other children.
Okay. Well, this is interesting. I'd like to talk about that particular one, but I know the picture probably motivated you to say it. And this would probably going to be our last image.
This, what's wonderful with these grandmothers is that they're starting, because of the support they've been receiving, they're starting to advocate for themselves as well, and they're going after the police to enforce laws against violation of women. And there's practices in some of the countries where when a woman loses her husband, she becomes a widow, the brother-in-law inherits her. And they're fighting against that. And another thing that will happen too is that when she becomes a widow, she could also lose her property, that the male members of the family will come and take her property from her. So they're advocating for that, and they're trying to get pensions from the government to support them in pensions. So these women are really starting to stand up for themselves, and I think that's because they're getting support. They feel like it's not a lost cause.
Yes. Yeah, there's more motivation there for sure. And you're doing amazing thing. No doubt about it. We will be back after the very short break with Arlene Lacroix and Janine Reid.
The ViaMia show is brought to you by the following people.
Charlie's Chocolate Factory is a family-owned business operating since 1970. Charlie's has molded chocolates for corporate events, weddings, and holidays. For information, call 604-437-8221. Good Cleaning Services has been serving Greater Vancouver since 2008. For more information, contact Ivanka at 778-321-0174. Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in New Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Melina Pham Makeup Artistry and Hairstyling. Makeup applications for film, airbrushing, glamour makeup, high fashion makeup, bridal makeup, and hairstyling. More details at melinaphamglobalartistry.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown New Westminster. We welcome our stylist George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private Investigations, Security and Alarm Systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121.
We're back with Arlene Lacroix and Janine Reid, the GOGO ladies. That's how I call them. I kind of like it. And I think you do too, anyway.
Well, we're not dancers.
Well, you told me that you can dance.
Oh, we can.
We started with all these things, the crafts of what you brought, a beautiful person, heads and everything else. There was something I left alone because I knew I'm not going to have enough time before the break. It's the book what we have here on a table. And I know it's your book, Arlene.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about it?
Well, you know, I love to cook, but I always wanted to write a book, and my original plan was just to give it to family members. And then I thought, you know, if we print it, we can sell it. And we did. All the proceeds go to the Stephen Lewis Foundation, to the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign. We've raised over $6,000 in book sales to date, and they're recipes that I've come up with, and they're recipes of families and friends, and we've had good success with it.
Well, I have to say something. I know a secret about you.
Oh.
Well, we have a common hairdresser,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And when I was sitting with him, he told me about this book. He said, not really about his book, he told me about your traveling.
Yes.
And is that true that when you try a food and you really like it, you can determine what's in it and you can make it at home?
Absolutely.
So you mean like any cuisine, any...
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all?
No.
And you put those recipes in this book.
I put those recipes in the book.
What a story.
Yeah.
You're a very interesting person. I mean, both you're very, very, very interesting. So that book is going to be along with everything else on November 6th and November 7th.
Absolutely.
On the fair in New West. RoyalCityGogos.org would be the place where we can find more information. And I want to tell you I'd like to be there because I want to see.
I hope you'll come.
I saw a lot of your stuff, but you said that you have way much more than. Yes. And the Christmas is coming. Where else you can get nice presents, right?
It's a great cause.
It's a great cause, for sure. What kind of collaboration is going on between you and the GOGOs in South Africa?
We are with them in solidarity. We raise awareness about their situation by speaking in public, by talking to you. We go and speak to organizations about what's happening there. Many people have not heard of the AIDS pandemic, let alone know that 30 million people have died. So we send our funds through the Stephen Lewis Foundation, and it goes directly to carefully selected projects in sub-Saharan Africa.
So, okay, so now you also said at the beginning, we had that picture of the children. You said there's a lot of millions of children without parents,
Yes.
without grandparents. That was interesting story you started to talk about. There's no adult in a household, is it?
That's right.
That's right.
Okay, so who runs the household?
The child, the
And-
older sibling.
And there could be a grandmother that lives next door that comes in to check on them, but there's no adult running that house. It's a child-run household because they've lost their parents, they've lost their grandparents. There's no one to look after them. So we
Sounds
also
so
provide, well, indeed it is. We also provide grief counseling. That's another thing. I mean, imagine the death, the tragedy that some of these grandmothers and these children have to go through. They're vulnerable. And so that's where some of the funds go as well.
We've noticed that the grandmothers who may have 10 or 12 children that she's caring for, not only her own grandchildren, but her neighbors or her sister's children, would be reaching out to her community to support these kiddies that are living in child-headed households.
So it's a lot of them like that.
7 million children live alone without an adult in the home.
Well, I just wonder how that, in that case, the communication and the collaboration really go. Do they have anybody, any advocates that there speak for them and represent them?
For the children?
Yes.
As best as these projects that we help to fund are able to do that. But of course, funds are limited, and with the global recession, giving to nonprofits has been down somewhat, and there's always more need. So, for example, a project that we fund may see several thousand grandmothers. Just down the road and around the corner, there are many more grandmothers and children who are needing support.
This sounds like it involves a lot of traveling for you, doesn't it?
None whatsoever.
None.
Oh, you don't travel at all.
No.
You don't have to. You don't. Oh, no, you don't have to. You don't go. To,
No, the Stephen Lewis Foundation, based in Toronto, is in contact with the projects, and they have African-based field workers who go out and liaise with the projects, as well as internet and telephone. But no, we don't go to Africa. The projects are run by and for grandmothers. They know best what they need. We don't know what they need. They do.
I'm speechless because what you do is just fantastic. And it was you who introduced me to that. I never knew that something like that exists, and I'd like to come to see you. Would like to encourage if we can. If for anything, maybe curiosity, I'm sure that your team needs to be expanded as well. You always welcome new people to join you. If I would like to join you, I am not very good with my hands. I don't know how to put anything together. How somebody with those kind of qualities be beneficial to you?
We have many of our members that aren't so, they're not involved in the crafts. But we have workshops sometimes, and some people will just come and they'll iron for us, so you don't have to have that kind of skill. Or they may take the minutes of our meetings. They may become the treasurer. They may take on to run a project, a fundraising project rather than crafting. But we all support each other.
Oh, I'm sure everybody would find their spot.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We need people with tech skills, people who can bake cookies and bring them to a meeting or an event. We need people who can do a spreadsheet, we need people who are welcoming and generous.
Well,
Yes.
I came from a different culture, and I found this one is so active. People don't want to retire. Even when they retire, they want to do something.
Oh, yeah.
They want to be helpful. They want to be benefit to something or somebody. So I'm sure there will be more and more people who would like to join you.
Well, we're finding is usually as people start to retire, they're looking for something else to do, and that's where we get a lot of our members. But we have members that are still working too.
Mia, we joined with the intention of doing something for African grandmothers. But we are a community in New Westminster of 50 women in Rural City GOGOs, and we have found that through the collaboration with each other, we have formed friendships. We've made a support circle.
Meeting new people.
It gives meaning to our lives and shape to our days. So we are the beneficiaries.
Yeah, of course. And we are too. Just by listening to you, watching you, hopefully we can all meet on November 6th or 7th to see these ladies and more, and those beautiful products, what I saw. As much as I don't like to say goodbye, it's time to kind of go towards that direction. Not only that one event we put up where we can find more information on royalcitygogos.org. Sorry, there is something else. It's coming up. It's going to be in December, on December 12th. I'm going to go bend a little further. Frank Sinatra is going to be 100-year-old and would be. And Rick Valiant, who we've met, involved with the show, pays tribute to Frank Sinatra, is opening a big event in Colombia. And my friend Susan and I, as ABBA Time, we're going to be opening the act for him. So that's another thing coming up for you. And I'm back with our GOGO ladies, who I'd like to, at this point, welcome for your visit, for all information and everything, and mainly for what you do for these people that probably none of us would like to trade life with.
Indeed.
We always have a guest, they sign the cup. I need your signature on it. You're starting, because we're starting 8th season, so this is our 8th cup. We need your signatures on it. And there's one more thing I have for you. One of our sponsors, Charlie's Chocolate Company, knows that you are here. So I didn't repack this, so sorry it doesn't look very attractive. But he made the chocolates what he's been molding for years and years for you, but this box is full of more of these.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, wonderful.
That's lovely.
And it's full, and he wants you to take it with you for your fair and benefit on it, you know, so he's donating,
so nice.
donating for you. So thank you, Charlie. Thank you to all our sponsors helping us to move from episode to episode and season to season. And thank you, our viewers, for watching. I'm going to be with you again next week. Bye-bye.